If you pay $40 a month to Grand Line Reviews, you are a Gorosei.
Those moments that makes it clear that Luffy is not a hero. And I do get that if you're a particularly politically charged person, then I think you will come into One Piece seeing what you want to see. Luffy doesn't have a political, or frankly, even a moral ideology. You can't assign him anywhere on the spectrum, left, right, center, whatever. He's being characterized as some kind of justice warrior standing up to authoritarian regimes and fighting for the freedom of the world. And this is a pretty big mischaracterization of Luffy. He doesn't particularly care about any of that.
He thinks after not saying a word about a genocide in Gaza that parallels eerily similar genocides in Wano, God Valley, Skypiea, Dressrosa, that he has any credibility at all to speak about the politics of One Piece. He's not knowledgeable enough to give a detailed opinion.
I do not know anywhere near enough to give a detailed analysis or opinion on the situations that are happening in these particular countries.
Grand Line Reviews waded into a One Piece's political discussion only after it hit the necessary virality to make money.
Point at which I feel like I need to make a video about this is when I see One Piece being talked about on ABC Australia.
Japanese anime One Piece.
I just happened to look at his channel membership options and they're very funny.
And what a lot of people are getting wrong is the true meaning of this symbol. If you're genuinely trying to understand why someone would choose to raise the Straw Hat Jolly Roger, then mate, this here is the video for you.
God damn, he charges $40 a month to be Grand Line Fleet Gorosei. Look, you could be a 5 elders if you pay him $40 a month. Wow. $20 a month, you could be a Marine Admiral, the heroes of One Piece. There's a litany of so many more knowledgeable people out there, guys.
And furthermore, there's a litany of many more knowledgeable people out there to explain all of that.
One of the weirder things that's left out of this video is he never mentions the world government and explains how they control the entire world and how the world government reinforces its power with a massive military might all over the world, especially concentrated on the Grand Line. All right, Grand Line Reviews is going to give us the true meaning of a Jolly Roger. He knows it, so let's hear what he says. This should be good.
To break free of the rules that they were born into and achieve their respective impossible dreams. But none of them can achieve these dreams under the rules that have been imposed upon them. Once your Jolly Roger has been destroyed symbolically and literally, you're done. Upon his head, Luffy carries 800 years of history struggling against oppression, fighting for survival, and dreams of a better future. With that in mind, I can see why the Straw Hat resonates so well with people who themselves feel oppressed. So I do think it is a bit misguiding to treat Luffy as an agent of political inspiration.
He's speaking for Luffy. He's like, okay, I'm going to explain to you why Luffy specifically, that dude's not political.
Becoming the Pirate King in this series is almost like achieving a state of societal transcendence. All of Luffy's crewmates who come under its banner have a similar belief in pursuing that level of freedom. Commentators who are not familiar with One Piece are labeling the Straw Hats more akin to the Revolutionary Army as a group of determined freedom fighters who are on a mission to liberate as many people in this world as possible. And that, as nice as it sounds, is just not true. I mean, that does tend to happen in almost every arc. Luffy will not allow anyone else to define him, nor will he ever explain himself to anyone. And the reason why Luffy does end up taking a stand against these tyrannical global powers is something scarily simple, like wanting to pay someone back for giving him lunch, or because he's a personal friend of someone within the affected nation in question.
Let me just go through real quick all the people that I could think of who Luffy helps without them giving him food or already being his friend. Zoro, Nami, Usopp, Sanji, Chow Chow, Gaimon, Kobe, Vivi, Laboon, Montblanc Cricket, Robin, Chopper. He actually tries to eat Chopper. Brook. Hachi does feed him, but is that why Luffy helps him? I don't think so. Shirahoshi, Trafalgar Law, Smoker, Momonosuke, Kinemon. It's simple things like wanting to pay people back for giving him lunch, aka making friends, having bonds with others, seeing himself in others. They literally are freedom fighters. They're fighting for their own freedom, and they understand that if their friends aren't free, and their friends can be anybody, then they can't be free as well.
Luffy doesn't have a political, or frankly even a moral ideology. You can't assign him anywhere on the spectrum, left, right, center, whatever.
How many people in One Piece is Luffy like, I'm not going to be your friend at all? They're like the biggest pieces of shit in the series. They're like caribou, slavers, celestial dragons. It's so weird to me how he refers to the reasons that Luffy helps people as scarily simple. And they are simple, right? Because I want you to be free, because I want you to be happy. But I'm like, why does he think the rest of the world does revolutions? I mean, I know he said that he doesn't pay attention to anything that's happening in the world.
I do not know anywhere near enough to give a detailed analysis or opinion on the situations that are happening in these particular countries.
That he doesn't understand any of the socio-political climates around the world, that he doesn't understand politics generally.
And furthermore, there's a litany of many more knowledgeable people out there to explain all of that.
But at the same time, he chose to make this video because he thought it would make him money. But you would think that you at least like put some work into it, you do some research, but no, he just cranks it out because he's a content mill. And then he pulls out, a random panel from Skypiea. I could care less about this country, but nonetheless, it is when people drop to their knees and pray to be saved, to be liberated from this authoritarian rule. That is when Luffy makes that come true. And Luffy had a connection with these people. And the other side of this conflict is the Shandians. And the Shandians realize that Luffy is carrying the will of somebody very important to their history. And then they start wishing for Luffy to make that dream come true, to ring the bell. And then that's when it happens. No connection at all. They're not relevant. He doesn't care about the country, I don't care about this country. Doesn't mean I don't care about these people. In fact, he says, my friends are on Kami's Island, aka I care about people, not countries. I don't care about states. And that's just like me, dog. I don't care about nation states. I care about the people who live in those nation states.
There's also a particularly interesting example that I bring up every now and then on this channel, which is during Sabaody Archipelago, where Luffy visits a slave shop looking for a friend of his that's been captured, and after not finding his friend, he just walks straight back out again. Those moments that makes it clear that Luffy is not a hero.
And he says that's what makes it clear that Luffy is not a hero. It makes it clear. Not in the Fishman Island, where he literally agrees with Jinbei to become the hero of Fishman Island, which is a country with a history of being enslaved and mega oppressed by the system of the world. Where at the end of the series, the kids and the people, they're selling hero hats, which are straw hats, the hats of Luffy.
In this situation, the right thing to do would be for Luffy to use his considerable power to free those slaves.
Luffy's not a hero. This one point here in Sabaody, about 1/3 of the way through the series, this proves it, guys. He's proven it. If he says it, that's what matters. If he says I'm not a hero, it doesn't matter if what he does is actually heroic. See, Luffy is political in the same way that Mr. Rogers or somebody is political. He's political in the same way that a child is political. Stuff that is just wrong. And if he can understand it, then he will just be like, why is it like this? It's very clear in this early part of Sabaody that Luffy really doesn't even know what chattel slavery is. Has never seen it. He's always been on an island that didn't have any part of that system. Completely removed from celestial dragons. People who keep slaves even though it's illegal. So he literally doesn't know what the fuck this is.
And picking up on the elements that confirm your worldview, whilst potentially ignoring or outright not seeing other elements.
Don't even think about whatever Luffy's definition of a hero is, right?
And I do get that if you're a particularly politically charged person, then I think you will come into One Piece seeing what you want to see.
What is Luffy's definition of a hero? Who has Luffy known his whole life that's called a hero of the Marines? Oh, that's his grandpa. Why would Luffy not want to be like his grandpa, a hero of the Marines? The Marines are so just, right? I mean, like your channel, when you go to join as a member, pay $4 a month, you're just a recruit. Bam, $8 a month, you're a captain. $10 a month, just $2 more. You don't have to be a captain anymore, you're vice admiral, dude. You know hockey. $20 a month, you're doing war crimes, you're a fucking admiral. If you pay $40 a month to Grand Line Reviews, you are a Gorosei, a genocidal psychopath. These are some weird membership options. I gotta be real, brother. And this idea of Luffy said that he's not a hero. And it totally ignores the development and the personality of Luffy, where eventually on Fishman Island, he accepts being a hero because that is the conditions that Jinbei sets up for him. That he wants Luffy to be the hero for Fishman Island, not a tyrant taking out another tyrant. And Luffy's development grows more and more, right? Like the other big kind of hero moment he has is during Dressrosa, where Luffy probably has the strongest development to accepting his heroship. He arrives at Dressrosa not really feeling anything in particular. He doesn't have any particularly harsh feelings towards Doflamingo, but it is as he sees the oppression around him that he is like, I gotta do something about this. This is horrible. This is evil. And all of Dressrosa cheers him on. I'm sure some people would say, well, Rebecca gave him food earlier. But do you really think it is about that? Frankie goes, Luffy, we gotta do something. There's something so dark at the heart of this little city. I gotta do something. And Luffy's like, give him hell. I got you. I support you. And so Luffy liberates Dressrosa for Rebecca, for Law, for Bellamy, for Frankie. As the people of Dressrosa cheer him on, you can see it kind of empower Luffy. You see this throughout the series too, where people cheering or praying or wishing that Luffy will save them or that somebody will save them. And Luffy, being the real and symbolic metaphorical sun god, a being who was created from the wishes and desire of slaves tens of thousands of years ago, it is when those wishes and those prayers come in that Luffy often does the impossible. I can think of the ending of Skypiea, the ending of Dressrosa, the ending of Wano, the ending of Enies Lobby. And so, Grand Line Reviews, I just have to ask, do you actually understand this story anymore? Is this just a cash grab for you? What is going on? Why are you whitewashing the politics?
Everyone who reads One Piece, no matter what their ideology is, manages to see the character of Luffy as someone who supports their worldview.
What you're seeing is a way that you could read this story without feeling guilty.
Which is something that does worry me a little bit for the future of people using the Straw Hat Jolly Roger, because historically speaking, symbols can and will be taken and used in ways that they were not originally intended to.
You know, Grand Line Reviews was right about this. It wasn't a very difficult prediction, but during the protests in Mexico, there was a staged protest by a literal billionaire and white nationalists, aka Nazis, who were co-opting the straw hat flag as a symbol of their quote-unquote revolution. Now that fell completely flat and got no traction at all because it was fucking obvious. It lacked any authenticity.
¿Conoció usted ese símbolo? No, la verdad no. ¿Te gusta One Piece? ¿Tú has visto One Piece? ¿Qué más te gusta?
Todas las generaciones lo han visto, ¿no?
Watching these just 50-year-old boomers, white people with swastikas literally on their t-shirts, a like 70-year-old literal billionaire wearing a straw hat t-shirt. All these t-shirts are like brand new, bought from the store, never been worn before. I know all my One Piece t-shirts, they're all like wearing out because I wear them. They're not, I didn't buy them just to co-opt the symbol for a protest.
It reflects the real world desires of author Eiichiro Oda. He did everything he could to break free of those restrictions and live with the highest amount of freedom that he could. And he succeeded. As One Piece is now very close to dethroning Superman and becoming the highest selling comic book of all time.
Grand Line Reviews kind of exposes himself here because he's like, success is like how much money and number you get. If the number get big, that means you win, you get the dream or whatever, right? While Oda is working so passionately on his art, he is still part of a cruel system that churns out manga week after week after week. Completing 3 chapters of One Piece a month is an insane feat. That is not necessarily by Oda's own will, but it is through the exploitation of the hyper-capitalistic Japanese manga industry. It makes me sad that One Piece is part of this system. The system that has broken the bodies of creators like Yoshihiro Togashi or Kentaro Miura and many countless others. This is not a system that I would call living a dream, even if Oda is making the art that he wants to make. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.